Still here with another Transgirl CNC, where we talk about comics, cartoons, and other awesome nerd shit. So, it's our main video, and it's a day late. I do apologize for that. Sometimes things get a little busy around here, and I can't always make my deadlines, but I'm here with a video now. I'm always going to try to bring you 2 videos a week. We'll just see how that goes when things at work get busy. It's really the best place for me to record. But anyway, we have a topic to talk about today. We'll get into it. But before we do, let's talk about things you might have missed. This is, of course, our segment in the main video where we talk about something that you might have missed. It could be either a comic, a cartoon, anime, just something that you might have not picked up for whatever reason. Either you didn't see it, it just didn't interest you at the time, but I still think it's cool and think that you should check it out. And this week, we're talking about the manga, A Terrified Teacher at Ghoul School. Now, this comic follows a main character who is, as the title suggests, a terrified teacher. He is a total nervous wreck, but he wants to be a teacher. Now, his first teaching job is over within the first day. He was just like a teacher's aide sort of after school, and he couldn't handle the troublemakers or the delinquents in his class, and so he quits because they just terrified the heck out of him. In fact, he's so pathetic that kindergartners are able to shake him down for money. He is definitely an interesting protagonist to follow, but he gets a job offer to teach at a private academy. The job offer is so good, he'll even get his own class to teach. Now, of course, in Japan, or even just, being a first-year teacher out of colors, that's a big deal. So he takes it. He's going to give up being scared, out with the old, in with the new, and he quickly discovers that it is a school full of yokai. Yokai are kind of spirits in Japan that like to play tricks or bring luck or misfortune to human beings. And it's an entire school full of them, so of course, he is totally freaked out. But he doesn't want to give up this teaching position. He wants to do a good job, and so it's kind of fun to watch his journey as he goes through it. Now, there's only 1 volume, and it's great. It's got comedy, it's very slice of life, and as mentioned, the character is really interesting. So from Yen Press by Mai Tanaka, it's A Terrified Teacher at Ghoul School. It's actually just came out recently, so it's super easy to pick up. I suggest you go find it and read it. And that then brings us to our main topic, which, as you can see from the title down below, we're talking about the Green Hornet. Now, not the movie that came out, well, kinda. We're kind of talking about the movie that came out, and I'll explain what that means. Now, as I mentioned in the previous video last week, there's a new Green Hornet comic from Dynamite Comics coming out in March that I suggested to everyone because I was super excited about it. As mentioned, it does follow the story after Kevin Smith's Green Hornet, which came out in 2009-2010. Whew. Sorry, water. Talking. Now, initially, I suggested this comic to you because I was super excited to see where the new writer, Amy, is going to take the characters. And after going back and rereading the entire run of what is considered Kevin Smith's Green Hornet, I am really hoping she can kind of save the 2 characters that I was so excited for to begin with. To kind of start, let's talk about Kevin Smith's Green Hornet, which is what we're talking about anyway. Now, as you know, there was a Green Hornet movie, it starred Seth Rogen, and it was okay. But before that movie was made, 2 scripts were drafted, one by the person who eventually made the movie, and one by Kevin Smith. Now, of course, Kevin Smith's ideals didn't get made into a movie. Instead, Dynamite grabbed that and said, hey, let us make this into a comic. And that's what they did. It's very interesting how similar these 2 stories start off. Both stories start off with Britt Reed Jr., who's kind of this party goer, this party boy living off his father's wealth and inheritance. His mother is dead. That's both stories, okay? They're both the same. But things take a turn when Brett's father dies. Once again, we're still talking about the exact same story. Brett wants to find out what happens, accidentally discovers, well, in the movie, he kind of accidentally discovers the fact that his father, Brett Reed Sr., was the mysterious Green Hornet. The Green Hornet, of course, is a great character. If you don't know anything about the Green Hornet, Brett Reed Sr. had a problem with all the crime and misery going on in the city, so he donned the costume, the Green Hornet. Now, his idea was not to be a superhero, but instead to play the part of a villain so bad that he would scare away all the other gangsters and stuff in town and essentially bring peace to Century City. I can't remember who the original actor for Green Hornet was back in the old TV shows, but Kato, his quote-unquote sidekick, was played by none other than Bruce Lee, and of course was amazing. Now, Kato was supposed to be kind of a bit part that would kind of show up and help out a little bit, but Brett would take care of all the major problems. But Bruce didn't really want to play a bit part, and so he would come into scenes and beat up everybody and then, like, save Brett. So the story eventually became more about a bumbling news reporter wanting to do good in his city, but needing the help of his faithful sidekick, Kato, to take care of all the situations that they got themselves into. Sorry. And that's kind of where this whole thing goes. So, eventually, Kato and Brett Reed Sr. form a great bond. They clean up Century City. And that's kind of where both stories, you know, that's where they're starting from. Is like, the past happened, now we're in the present. So, Brett Reed Sr. dies. Brett Reed Jr. discovers that his father is the mysterious Green Hornet through different ways in the movie. He just kind of happens upon it, and then Kato's son is there as well to kind of help out with everything. More or less, I don't want to put this. Both stories feature a protocol. In the case that Brett Reed Sr. dies, that Kato will come and clean up, you know, whatever mess and take care of whatever unfinished business that needs to be done. And that happens in both comics. Now, in the movie, it's just Kato's son. And then Seth Rogen's character, Brett Reed Jr., is like, hey, we could totally be the Green Hornet and Kato. Like, that's my best Seth Rogen impression, so forgive me. In the comic, Kato, the original Kato, actually shows up. He not only shows up, but he shows up with his daughter, who ends up being Brett Jr.'s sidekick in the comic. Now, at first he had the very same dynamic in that Brett's kind of not good at this, and she is amazing at all kinds of hand-to-hand combat, and she's quick, and she's strong, and I really love her. Now, what else is also featured in the comic that wasn't in the movie is the Jason Mewes character. And I'm going to say that it is a character specifically meant for Jason Mewes, and if you ever pick up the book, you'll understand why. His name is Clutch. He's Kato's nephew, and he's really good at cars and stuff. He is a total bit character, meant to be played by a stoner, so it's Jason Mewes. So Jason Mewes is in the garage, but Kato's training Britt, Mulan, who, as mentioned in the previous video, is Kato's daughter. She's, you know, picking up the slack for what Brett can't do, and basically they go through this entire adventure, taking care of Brett's father's killer, bringing him to justice, kind of, and it's a great happy ending. It wraps up, and Kevin Smith stops writing the comic, and then somebody else gets their hands on it. I forget their name. And here's where the problems start. Now, one of the things I kind of want to praise Kevin Smith about is that he took the trope of male hero, female sidekick, falling in love. That trope, he decided, I'm not doing that. and he didn't do it. Brett totally was all about wanting to, be with Mulan, but Mulan was not having any of it because she didn't respect him, 1. 2, and here's where things get murky. At the end of Kevin Smith's run, Brett's like, come on, we could, go out or whatever, I've grown. And she's like, we have a lot in common. He's like, no, that's exactly why we should go out. And she's like, no, who we're attracted to. He's like, you like girls? And she's like, I told you we have a lot in common. And that's kind of how that dynamic ends in Kevin Smith's particular run. Now, I want to make that very clear because the comic continues without Kevin Smith. And so I don't know if they're going to start the new series right from there and just kind of forget everything that happened after it, or if they're going to continue after everything that happens, because whoever takes over after Kevin Smith, it gets brought up again in the very next issue where Brett's like, did you really mean what you said when you said you were into other girls? And she's like, you can even learn when somebody's, playing a joke. So, did Kevin Smith mean for Mulan to actually be, a lesbian character? Was it actually a joke? Did he leave notes? I don't know. But for whatever reason, that's the route they went with. There was a big joke for Mulan to play on him to kind of freak Brett out for whatever reason. The story progresses. They go through a lot of different things. The action's really solid. Some of the writing is pretty good. There's lots of people who don't think that Mulan should even be Kato. Generally villains are like, you're disrespecting the original Kato, and she just basically kicks their ass. And I really appreciate and enjoy that. 11. But as the story continues, Mulan and Brett grow closer, and that trope that Kevin Smith was avoiding, the two partners who have different genders falling in love for each other kind of thing, that trope that he had avoided, they were basically walking these two characters totally into it, and then they did. They ended up not only kissing, but having sex, and it was really just kind of a betrayal to Mulan's character as it had been built up. And not good. Just very disappointed in the whole thing. Now, there is a point in the book where everyone thinks Kato and Mulan are dead, and it's just Clutch and Brett's trying to make new allies, and it doesn't quite go the way he thinks. The writing is really weird. They introduce, it's like the last 5 issues or so, they introduce a trans character called Blamazon. She's actually a trans woman of color, and I like her. She's a little much, personally, but this again was late 2000s, before 2010 writing, or actually it was early, it was like 2012, there and about. So the writing for trans people wasn't good to begin with. In that time period, you had a whole lot of different stuff going on, and it was bad. But Blamazon wasn't too bad. And she even dies, because, of course, every one of Brett's new partners dies, or gets taken out in some way. But she does go out taking out a really homophobic, racist, bad guy. So, I guess points for that? I don't know. And then Mulan shows up at the end to save Brett, and it's this whole thing. He's like, I thought you were dead. She's like, I'm not dead. And then the comic ends. That's where it ends. After that, they went back to the original Green Hornet and Kato, and we didn't see the Brett Jr. Mulan characters ever since until now. So I don't know if that's the point they're going to be jumping off of, or if they're going to be jumping off the point where Kevin Smith actually stopped writing. So, we'll see. Personally, I would retcon everything after Kevin Smith, just because the writing worked up to what it did, and it was not very, very good. It was okay, but like I said, they fell into a lot of tropes, and didn't handle a bunch of new characters that they had added very well at all. But that's our topic for the week. And that's the main video, talking about that Green Hornet comics to get you prepared for the Green Hornet comic coming out in March if you ordered it. I hope you did, because I'm still looking forward to it, even if I'm a little wary about it. But that's what that is. So, midweek video, I can actually tell you what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about Avatar Korra from The Legend of Korra, and some complaints I have with the fandom as a whole when they talk about Korra, but we'll get into that on Thursday, Friday. So, until then, until next time, enjoy comics, enjoy cartoons, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.